We all want to create our best possible life, but the problem is most of us just don't know how to get started. Today, I'm going to use my 15 plus years in academic coaching, sales training, and peer reviewed value theory to teach you the step by step process of how to find your purpose, how to actually learn the skills you need to execute on that purpose, and how to connect with the right people and resources to actually make it all happen. And all within the next 30 days. Let's get started.
All right, so you might be feeling like you just want more out of life and you know the pivot you want to make, and you just don't know the direction. You just don't know the next steps, in other words. And you feel like, okay, there are a million next steps that I could take, but what is the exact right next step and what is the right order of those steps to let's say be a diplomat if you want to be a diplomat for the UN, if you want to just get a better role in your job, right? In your current position, or you want to get a new better career, better job, or you want to start that new business, or you want to any number of things, any number of things. You might also be in the other boat where you know you want to change, but you don't know exactly what's what the pivot is in the first place. You don't exactly know what you want. You just know you are not satisfied with where you are right now. We're going to address both of those and really dig through a lot of those steps. But why does what I'm going to talk about actually work? Is there any proof? Well, I've worked with lots of people on this in on both sides, I would say, of the equation. There is kind of an academic side that I've worked with, many students, top performing, not so high performing, all different age groups, adults, uh, college age students, or high school age students, and even younger than that. And so a lot of the feedback that I've always gotten is whether that's somebody pursuing a top school or a student or somebody else who just wants to better their career and needs, for instance, better writing skills or whatever that is. I've been able to really help a lot of people in that domain level up their careers, level up in the next steps in life, because there is a systemized approach to this. And on the other side of this, I've had a lot of experience with the sales side of things, and I'll share that I've gotten these notes over the years of having helped people really transform, let's say, their sales skills, their communication skills, their business skills, their entrepreneurship skills, and it's been a real pleasure. And how has that journey gone? Well, here's the academic side of things. Here's the I used to run a test prep agency, and guiding students with a lot of different services. Obviously, things like, if you know, the United States tests, SAT, ACT, AP tests, and just improving people's GPAs and all of this stuff. And of course, that was a lot of work and a lot, but I learned a lot about how people learn, how people grow, how people progress, and actually what holds people back from progress. That's even more important because there are some mindsets and some personal growth that we have to deal with to get better at academics or any skill, or any path. But there are also skills that we need to develop, obviously. And on the other side of it, I went from this 2013, when I started my direct sales business, to wow, like 6 years later, I'm finding myself standing, shocking myself from this, honestly, like this loser 2013, not having any social skills, not having, and I'm gracious with myself, I guess. But I really was just losing at life. I just didn't have a lot going on. I had massive debts. I had really mismanagement of my cash flow, all of that. Social skills were lacking, and just didn't have any connections. To 6 years later, coaching people how to actually run a successful business, and how to do sales effectively, specifically, and face to face, front facing sales, which is really intense. And this is the amazing team that I worked with, and really amazing stuff, and a great group of people. And so Also, from the academic side, previous to that, in 2013, the same time, honestly, that I got started with my business back then, I published in value theory, which is, again, it's more of the cognitive basis of everything that I'm going to be talking about, the theoretical basis. So, with that said, when I talk about these three phases of transformation, I'm not talking about them from a vacuum. I'm not talking about them from nothing. They really work. These really work. And one of the problems, and I'll talk about each of these three phases of transformation, these three steps to get from where you are now to where you really want to go. The problem with most approaches to change is that they really focus on this one thing, which is great. It's important. Trust me, it's really important. Personal development, what I call telos discovery, which is a process of discovering your purpose and growing ourselves and growing what you might call our soft skills, what you might call our vision and our mindset and our interpersonal skills and our leadership ability and all of those things that are so essential to life. I mean, honestly, but that's where a lot of approaches to personal change stop. They just stop there. And it's like, okay, great, I'm growing, I'm powerful now, I'm empowered, but then it's like, okay, still I lack direction. Okay, what am I supposed to do? What skills do I develop now? Which direction do I go? What do I actually do now that I'm empowered? And so you need these other two phases, quite honestly. And some approaches to transformation or change also just focus on skills. So how many times have you on YouTube, maybe if you are a YouTube binge watcher like me, honestly, it's okay. We're all guilty of it. It's probably you were watching this video, probably. We have heard this idea of high income skills, developing high income skills. Great. But let's be honest also. How many times have I seen somebody have high income skills in my career, or and whether that's like high skill level as a student or high skill level as somebody who is in sales or in business, and they still fail. They still fail. They still don't get where they want to go because they didn't have this as a foundation. So don't think this is just fluff. I mean, I used to think that this phase is just fluff by itself. By itself, it's just fluff. Let's put it that way. But if you build these things on top of it, then it becomes very powerful. And what good is it if you don't have if you have skills and that and purpose and direction and personal growth and then the hard skills, the professional development, what good is all of that stuff if you don't have the resources and connections and relationships to make these things happen that you want to happen? And that's another big mistake people make, is assuming that's not important. That is crucial. Any next steps that we want to take in our lives are going to require people. Okay, so understand this is what we're going to be talking about. And I'd like to just use an example instead of giving you all the theory. Because all the theory is great, but let's take a practical example and actually go through the steps together. And let's meet John, right? John is an example. He's a fictional example here that we'll go through. And John, let's say John is working in a corporate job. He makes a decent income, but he feels, stagnated in his job, right? He's just there to pay bills. He's gotten to the point where there's really no purpose in what he's doing, and just comes home, relax every day. It's like the same cycle, and he knows, and maybe a lot of you can appeal to this or can relate to this. He knows he has more potential. He knows he has more potential than he's using, and that's probably why he's scrolling through success stuff, content on TikTok and YouTube, right? Because he knows he has more potential. He just doesn't know how to direct it. And he doesn't know what his next step should be. And that is so many of us. It is more people than I can count. It used to be me as well. But there are ways to organize it and structure it so he knows what to do. And so the first step, and we talked about that this is in 30 days, right? Now, the overall process, change is a long-term thing, but you can get a lot done in 30 days. You can do a lot in 30 days that's going to create that change that you're looking for and get you on a really solid track to have all three phases running kind of at the same time. So, and we'll talk about that now. So if John is going to successfully discover the right next steps, he has to develop a plan. And that's where a lot of us fail. A lot of times we're even pursuing personal development, but we're just doing this and that here and there. We're reading this book, we're watching this video, we're having this conversation, we're logging on, maybe joining some accountability group, even taking some course. And but it's all here and there. We don't we're not targeting what we need at our stage in life. Everybody is like so different. There are some things in common that we all need, but everybody's so different. So we have to plan for ourselves, right? And he's never going to discover what this is by just sitting and reflecting, watching self-help videos, reading self-help books. We need to know how to structure our personal development plan. And to that effect, let's actually look at an example. I'm going to stop sharing screen here for a moment, and I'm going to get onto another screen, and let's go through an example of a personal development plan, and let's look at a template. Okay, so this, and just to show you how to do it and how to outline it. And you don't need to, do it this in depth perhaps, but take some of the categories here and fill them out as best as well as you can. Okay, and basically what you want to do is, and here what our approach is here is, we're going to get a bunch of criteria out. We're going to reflect on some of the things that we need in different categories, and some of the things that we currently that are priorities for us for personal growth in certain categories, and understand what are our values, what do we want to pursue, and all of that. And by the way, I have a worksheet or a workbook to help you actually know how to fill this out and identify those things and brainstorm. I have a workbook in the pinned comment below. It's a personal development plan workbook to help you kind of put this stuff together. So if you're really serious about this process of discovery and you really want to make this happen and give yourself a solid foundation, go through that workbook, do the exercises, and by the time you're done those exercises, you'll really know how to fill in these categories that I'm going to talk about. So let's go through it. Career. So you have to determine, right? We have to determine what it is that we want for our career growth, or what, in terms of our working life, what we spend 8, maybe perhaps 12 hours a day doing, at least 5 days a week. What does that activity look like for us? What does the activity look like for us? And again, it doesn't have to be this big make money thing, right? A lot of people, of course, making money. I love making money. Who doesn't like making money? But some of you listening to this might be into the arts, or have that vision of being a backpacker full time, traveling the world. Great. So understood. So understanding that, what does then your career, even if it's a non-traditional career, what does that look like, right? What does that ideal career look like, and where are you now? And think about some areas of personal growth that you may need. Communication. Is it communication? Again, that workbook that I told you about will help you identify areas of personal growth that you may need to work on. Is it procrastination? Is it self-discipline? Is it setting goals? Is it some habits, some health habits, right? So identify, maybe not some health habits, that's more like this category, but relationships are key. So romantic relationships, maybe not for everybody, right? It's not something I'd say, oh, it's for everybody, but maybe, it's important to assess, who am I surrounded by and who do I want to be surrounded by, right? That is one of the highest predictors of success, is who we surround ourselves by and who we are surrounded by, who are we spending most of our time with, right? And assess that and assess where we want to be with that. Health. Identify some health habits that we want to improve, right? Hobbies. Now, what I would call this is like unplugging time or recharging time. What activities do you use, even aside from work, to recharge? Now, some people may use their work to recharge. I mean, it really depends on the person. So this actually may be similar or the same as your career category, is what you put there. But for most people, I would say it's probably not going to be. You want to assess what hobbies, what things you use to recharge. And that's okay. I'll be honest. I watch some. I'm a real person. I watch some, scary ghost videos on YouTube and random, I mean, just random content on YouTube to just like unwind sometimes, right? Because I'm like, okay, I just need to unwind. I just need to not think about anything, and whew, that feels good, right? Sometimes it's reading a book. A lot of times it depends on what kind of recharging I'm looking for, right? So unplugging your mind sometimes very, very productive, actually. So current state assessment, look at your strengths, look at areas that need improvement, right? Right. And really be honest with yourself. Once again, the workbook that I gave you, if you have a tough time figuring this out, the workbook that I talked about in the pinned comment below, it will really help you with that. And understand that. Goals and objectives. Once you have some of that stuff, now you could start to put together some goals, right? 3 to 6 months. Put together, I really urge a 12-week plan because and there's a great book out there, what is it called? The 12-week year, that talks about this, why a 12-week plan is a really great idea, as opposed to just having like a 1 to 5 year plan or something like that. Focus in the short term, at least, on what you can do in the next 12 weeks. And in this video, we're focusing on the next 30 days even. So this is happening within the first 1 to 14 days, right? We're looking at what we can do in the next 1 to 14 days here, right? So you can fill this out quite honestly. If you just take, a couple of hours, maybe you sit in an afternoon and do this with yourself. You sit with yourself. It's for yourself. Don't complain that it takes time. It's for yourself, right? Then you can actually get this done, and well within that 1 to 14 day time frame. So start to fill this out. You get this done in the first day, in day one. Leaves you 14 days for what I'm going to talk about. Okay, 14 more days. And development objectives. Now, for the action plan, well, here for the development objectives, well, let's talk about soft skills and hard skills. So soft skills and hard skills, you want to identify soft skills you want to need to develop, maybe communication or listening skills, whatever. Hard skills would be maybe coding and maybe, again, like a new language or something, whatever is maybe related to the career goals you want. Or maybe you leave these blank for now. It's okay. You don't need to fill everything in if you're totally stumped. The idea is to get as much in as possible. Then development objectives. Get a SMART goal together. If you're in phase one where it's like you really don't know what you want yet, that's okay. You don't need to fill this out yet, because if you're in phase two where it's like, I know what I want, I know what direction I want, I just need to know the next steps, then fill out the SMART goal. It should be a goal that's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, timely. We'll show an example with John, our example, in a moment, and go through how we would execute that. But get that together, put that together, and you'll see that is very important. If you're in the first phase, don't worry about this so much. Start developing yourself. Start working on those other personal development goals and those things that we talked about in the first part. This will actually become apparent to you over time. It will actually bubble up to the surface over time, right? That's how it works. You'll figure out your goal. You'll figure out your why, right? And action plan, behaviors and actions, daily habits to develop. We also want to identify some daily habits, okay? And we also want to develop some resources, identify some resources. Again, it seems like a lot of information, but you're not pursuing this all at once. You're taking this is like content you're just getting out there, so that when we come down here, show you, right, 12-week action plan, you're able to fill this out with something, things that you can actually start taking action on. So it's just content to get out there. It's kind of like just putting stuff out on paper so that you can have some idea of what directions to go, right? And books to read. So the books that I want to read that would help me. What maybe you can look up some books. Maybe you can go and look up some book recommendations. Maybe you can watch some of my other videos that talk about book recommendations. I have some great book recommendations in some of the other videos that I discuss, and maybe you want to read some of those, right? But tailor those books not to what's the most popular thing or the hottest thing right now, but to what you have identified above that you need now, and videos to watch. Identify videos to watch on what you need right now. Seminars and workshops to attend. You might know some course or some conference or something that would be very helpful for you to attend, and people to see connection with. The number one thing I recommend is find somebody in the field that you want to develop in. Find somebody who has the lifestyle that you want, or that you think you may want, maybe, and connect with them and ask them questions, and don't be shy. A lot of the people who are where you want to be, a lot of those people, they won't brush you off. I mean, they may ignore you a few times, but you need to be persistent. You need to be persistent, and in a nice way, in an appropriate way, in a non-spammy way, and stuff like that. And just follow up, because you can get a lot of insights from them that you couldn't come up with yourself, or you couldn't just research. There are insider ideas, right? And that is actually important long term. But there's a way to do that that we'll actually talk about a little bit, how to see connection and how to go about that. Progress tracking and review. So we want to review. I want to have a system for accountability here, progress tracking. Maybe you have some activities listed out. You have your 12-week plan listed out, and you have checklists next to activities. You calendar block your days to the activities that you would need to get done on particular days in order to complete your week, right? It's not like it's not super hard. It's not super hard. We just need to time block some things, and we may have obstacles. Time obstacles. You may have sick family members. You may have other obligations. You may have some crushing anxiety type of situation. Yes, we may have some obstacles, but we want to have some system that we can keep ourselves accountable with. And the support system, transition and growth. Okay, so once we'll talk about this. We'll talk about more of the phases a little bit, but then we develop our 12-week action plan. Develop your 12-week action plan based on putting those things together. Now, you may even just be able to fill out 6 weeks. I'm okay if you could fill out the next 4 weeks, because sometimes that's tough, right? You don't know what you're gonna do for the next 12 weeks. You don't necessarily know where you're going, but that's why this is a do it in 30 days. I feel like you actually do need more guidance to know what you would need to do over 12 weeks, especially if you're just kind of sitting by yourself watching this. So if you're sitting by yourself watching this and you're like, okay, well, what do I fill in for the 12 weeks? Even though I know what I filled in for those other above in this personal development plan, that's okay. Fill out the first 4 weeks. I'm confident you can do that, because this video is about 30 days, right? How to actually change your life, how to transform your life in 30 days. And that's just about 30 days, right? So get 4 weeks out here. You can do that. And I'm going to switch screens and go back to this. And let me share my screen again here. And basically, yeah. So you could do that by yourself. You could do that without any assistance, right? Now, now let's do this. Now you did that. You sat down in an afternoon and got that done. Fantastic. That's day 1 for you. Let's talk about days 2 to 14. Now you start to execute on this plan. And this is at least about 2 weeks, right? So John has started to execute the plan by engaging in some of the activities laid out there. That might be, for instance, you may start journaling. You may start creating a vision statement, right? You may start, again, the workbook that I mentioned, right? The free personal development plan workbook. It will help you to answer a lot of what you should do in those first 4 weeks. right? But it's going to help you a lot. So at the end of this plan, John starts to realize, right? And this is the process. When you go through this process, you start to realize things about your goals, and suddenly he starts to have this realization. Oh, you know what? That's what it is. I've been reading this, I've been doing this, I've been journaling on this. I realized it's a fintech startup with XYZ characteristics. That's exactly what I want to do now. Okay. And so some of us don't really feel lost. We mentioned this, like John, but instead are at this starting point, right? Maybe you have already started watching this with the idea that, yeah, I already know I want to build a fintech startup, but I really don't know how. I don't know what the first step is. I kind of know that there are 20 million possible steps, but which one's first, right? We don't know how to get there, or guess what? Most of our issue is this one. We lack the motivation to start or stay consistent. I am sure. Come on, put a comment below if you are one of the people who have been saying forever that I'm going to start my business, or I'm going to start this, I'm going to start that, and you have been thinking about it and planning about it forever and forever, and you never really got started on it, right? This is probably a lot of us. Or maybe you got started, but you were really diligent for the first 4 weeks, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and then, oh, what happened? Something got busy, life got in the way, something came up, and then 6 more weeks went by. You lost the momentum from the first 4 weeks, and you weren't consistent, so you lost out, right? This is a big problem that I'm going to help you solve right now. So John executes his plan, and John, for let's skip ahead to day 15 to 28. John pursues skill mastery. A part of the reason people kind of have difficulty with consistency and motivation, and this is a reason that is not talked about a lot. I haven't even heard this talked about a lot, is because we don't know. We have misdirected efforts a lot of the times. We're misdirecting our efforts. What do I mean? We're working on the wrong things. And it's not our fault, because we don't have professional knowledge in the area that we're pursuing yet. So we're trying to address a million things we don't know where to address, and so we get demotivated because we're not getting the results we want because we're pursuing the wrong task. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. John realizes he needs two things to make his transformation complete. He starts to realize he needs new skills. So okay, he doesn't know sales, he doesn't know marketing, he doesn't know logistics, he doesn't know cash flow management, and he needs all these things in order to start his tech startup, or his fintech startup, right? He'll need these things. And so, okay, and he'll also need connections and resources, right? For sure, right? To make these things happen, especially in an entrepreneurial venture, but for any project, there are things that we need that we have to face. We need these things. And they think we don't think about them. We avoid them because they seem unattainable, but they are attainable. So let's there are so many of them. Where should John start? So one of the main reasons we don't pursue it is we get too overwhelmed, right? We talked about that. There are so many things, right? We start to think about the project. Let's say a fintech startup. Let's take another example. What should it be? Maybe you want to start a dancing career, okay? Just to take the extremes. You now think about it. You start planning this out, or you start thinking about it, and you think about it's like a big mountain you're staring up, this big mountain. Wow, that's much bigger than I thought. That's much bigger than I thought. It's much more involved. Just marketing alone is like a whole big topic. And then like this section of marketing is its own big topic I have to learn. Wow, this is way bigger than I thought. And so the skill mastery system, what I've developed is the skill mastery system is the solution. So let's take a look at this system plus the GPT, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, so let's actually take the skill mastery system. I'm actually going to load it. I forgot to load it beforehand, but there's something that I have developed called the skill mastery guide. And the skill mastery guide is something that is like a step-by-step to learning any skill. So let's load this here, and I'll show you how this works. So the skill mastery guide, we can follow this process, and I'm not going to take too long to just go through every single, to really expound on every single step, because I'm assuming you can rewatch this. You can go back and catch the points. But here, let's go through the steps. So fairly quickly, and then understand how we actually incorporate some AI, some generative AI, ChatGPT, into the process to actually aid our learning. So one is identify the learning goal. And we have to have a SMART learning goal. We have to have something specific. One of the problems with even traditional education is that kids are sitting in the classroom and they're learning, let's say, math. They're learning writing, and just they're learning the skill, but it's not, they're never really understanding, okay, why? What am I working towards? What's the outcome here? What's the specific thing that I'm learning this for, right? And when you don't define that ahead of time, and we'll look at a SMART goal, SMART learning goal that John set here, then it's easy to get unmotivated because you're like meaninglessly working on some skill. So we want to identify the learning goal, and we also want to identify study partners. And study partners are crucial because some sort of classroom setting is important. Self-learning is possible. Self-learning is possible, but not for most people. Not for most people. Most people do need to learn in some environment, and getting connected with 2 other people or 3 other people who are focusing on the same skill set and learning from each other, studying together, is important for so many reasons. The research bears this out. My own experience bears this out tremendously. So we need that. The ideal thing would be to have one-to-one coaching with somebody and a tutor, right, to help you with these skills, but not everybody can afford that. So this is really the next best thing. And identifying curriculum steps, we will want to identify the curriculum steps. Okay, so once you have identified the study partners, you guys get together, you actually figure out the curriculum steps. And here you can actually this is where you can use AI, because you guys are all new, right? So how do you know the correct curriculum steps? Well, this is the solution, because you can actually input your SMART learning goal into generative AI, and you can ask it to help you put together a curriculum based on your SMART learning goal, and identify the correct curriculum steps, and even help you put together a study plan, and even give you some free resources to use for that study plan. And I'll show you how to do that. We'll do a live session with that. And then we assess and adjust, right? Assess and adjust. In this step 4, is this is an acknowledgement that, or no, in step 4 here, we actually do assignments, right, to test our knowledge. Now, if you are doing something academic or something that can be measured academically, you can obviously do tests and quizzes and things like that type of assessment. But if you're doing something that's non-academic, that you can't assess academically, we want to focus on other things. We want to focus on things like you know, actual actions that we take, right? That could be assessments, right? Could be a sales process. You do an appointment, or you do some sales call or something like that as your assessment. And then there are ways to assess that afterwards. And then reassessing, how do we plan for imperfection and obstacles? Here we reassess our whole study plan. The whole study plan then needs to be reassessed, and we figure out how do we reassess the study plan itself. So, and that's very important. So I will stop the share here, right? Because we're not going to go through all of that, but I will go through an example of how we take the personal development plan, or the SMART learning goal, and input it to ChatGPT. And let's do that. So I have what's called a skill mastery GPT. And hold on, let me just highlight this text. So this is John's SMART learning goal. SMART learning goal is I want to learn how to launch a startup in the fintech space, focus on a personal finance budgeting app, and learn how to monetize this app to generate $5,000 per month in revenue within this next 6 months. Okay, so then how do we do that? Well, let's go over to our ChatGPT, the skill mastery coach. Now, I do have this skill mastery GPT, and you can input this goal right into skill mastery GPT, and you'll see what it does. It actually assesses the SMART goal that you have figured out, right? It assesses that it is a SMART goal, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound, and it will actually give you some criteria from there. And it'll actually spit out a curriculum, a study plan, all of that stuff, resources for you. All right. So, and take a look at what it's spitting out right now. It's actually spitting out, market research, understand your competition, a target audience, skills and team, identify the skills you'll need, estimate initial costs. So here it's actually giving us the curriculum plan. Look at this. It's actually giving us this curriculum plan, and it's actually quite good because it's giving us some resources. And if it gives you some paid resources, you can actually tell it to give you some free resources instead. Just specify that, and then yeah, it goes from there. So here's the thing that I want you to do is you'll adjust this plan, right? And you'll adjust it according to what your needs. Here, the skill mastery coach, one of the great things about the skill mastery coach or the skill mastery GPT is also that it will do one-to-one exercises with you, right? It'll do one-to-one coaching with you. Now, you do have to have GPT-4, the version of this, to get started with the skill mastery coach, right? And have connection to this, but it's okay. Don't worry. Because I know you have to pay for that. And also, I have this set up as something paid, but all you have to do, this just kind of makes it easier. This is nothing that ChatGPT itself, like 3 can't do, 3.5. You just have to add in some more prompts. That's all. You have to be more specific, right? So in addition, let's say if you're using just regular ChatGPT, all you would do is you'd say, I want to do this, and then you just add in a prompt such as, please create a 12-week or whatever. What is it? 6 months? No, it would be a 24-week curriculum plan for me, along with a study plan, and as well as free, right? You can indicate free resources to use for assignments or for, let's say, homework, right? And then, so you could just type that, something like that. Only the additional benefit of this is just like you don't have to be proactive. You don't even have to know how to write the correct prompts. The great thing about this is if you write the wrong prompts, then it'll just like help guide you. It knows that you're not doing the right prompts or something, right? So that's fine. But you could use ChatGPT, regular ChatGPT, to do the same exact things that we're doing here. So I'm going to stop share here, and let's go over to back to this course, right? So back to these slides. So now let's kind of finish this up with some understanding of what other the next things we want to do. So John actually has a study plan now, right? That's the great thing. John has a study plan, and now he's actually starting to work on the study plan for the next 2 weeks, right? This is really great. He's working through that study plan. And in this 2-week period, John can accomplish a lot. He continues the exercises in his PDP, in his personal development plan. He's further clarifying his direction. He eliminates the cognitive load by prioritizing the exact skills and exercises needed for his goal. So now there's no mystery. He knows exactly the steps, and now he can use the skill mastery guide, and you guys can see that, right? You don't even need the PDF for it. You see the steps in there, and you could start implementing them. Find 2, 3 people who are working on the same goal, and just buddy up, get on a Zoom once a week and run through those steps together. And it is a little bit, I mean, there are more steps involved there, to how to set up your study group, how to structure it, but I didn't want to make this too long. As long as you have that basic idea, you should have a good deal of success learning the skills, right? That you need to learn. So, and then he's building momentum. That's the important thing. Cognitive load is when you have all these things in your mind that you need to do and you don't do them. Right? It's why we don't pursue a lot of projects. It's why we start something and then don't continue, because we think of all the things we need to do, but this really organizes it for us. All right, day 15 to 17 to 28. Now, phase 3, we can actually get started with this in the last 2 days of our plan here, right? Resource development. Now we will need resources. We will need, so we have some sort of project that we're working on, the specific learning goal. His learning goal here was what, like 6,000, I forget what it was, $5,000 per month in revenue within the next 6 months, doing a personal budgeting app, right? Personal finance budgeting app. See, he has a very specific project. Now by days 15 to 28, he doesn't have this specific project all polished and perfect. He's going to make a lot of changes still over time. However, in this phase, in phase 3, he's going to start connecting with people, building his network, building relationships to help him eventually get this thing off the ground. Or let's say, if, again, using some other example, if you want to be a diplomat, right, connecting with the right resources and people, other opportunities, maybe internships and things like that, to make whatever you're working towards happen, right? So here's what you want to also do. Start a list building habit. Get a spreadsheet of contacts together. It's this easy. When I was doing, direct sales, this was like this is how I've built a massive network over years. And I have lots of people who will just like help me out, because I've built such great relationships with lots of people over time, and quality people, right? And real relationships, not just transactional stuff where it's like shallow, right? Build a spreadsheet of contacts. Keep the spreadsheet active. And you just want 2 columns in there. You want, the name, or maybe 3 columns. The name, you want their profession, and you want their background, and you want the last time you talked to them, and maybe what you talked about, right? So you know when to follow up and keep that conversation going. You should always be having conversations with people. And also you want, on the same spreadsheet, or maybe a separate spreadsheet of what you would call your top contacts. These are people who, over time and conversations you're having, you have the best rapport, you really realize you have the best relationships, and keep adding to your list all the time, every week. DM somebody on LinkedIn, hey, or DM somebody on your social media, hey, I really liked your post about this and that. What do you do? What is that? And like, just start conversations, or even when you're out in public, right? I used to, I used to literally, like, whenever I was out, it's like, okay, I'm on the train. Oh, person next to me. How can I start a conversation? When I'm in a coffee shop. Oh, the person like sitting over there. How can I? They have their headphones in, but like, how can I, how can I disrupt them to like get their headphones out and like talk to them, right? I had this approach because I really really wanted to build my network. So that was really important. Adding to your list, just whenever you're out, have conversations as well, and build value with your list. The Benjamin Franklin principle. Now, I want to discuss this for a moment. There's something called the Benjamin Franklin principle that is discussed a lot, and there is research that shows that it works. What it is basically, if you meet somebody for the first time, and then maybe you have a nice conversation with them, and you ask them for a small favor. Oh, can I borrow a book? Or oh, can I borrow a pencil? Or whatever that is, something very small. Or could you take a look at this document for me, because I really respect your expertise in XYZ, your feedback. That person does have some goodwill with you. Now, I have used this. I do use this to some extent, But I personally, no, this is just from my personal experience, I haven't felt that that is as effective as like as the next part, which is a lot faster, I think. When you start building your list really quite a lot, you want to start making connections between people. Like, let's say somebody is, I'll use my own example. Like, I like to do this because it's also ends up sometimes being lucrative too, in itself. Like, let's say a somebody has an investment firm. Somebody else is looking for an investment. I, that's an obvious one. You connect them together, you make that connection. One is obviously that might be lucrative for you directly, but two is you can actually from that interaction, both people like you now and they trust you, right? And they see value in you. They have a good feeling about you, right? So you did one thing and you got twice the value from that. And again, I want to emphasize you're building real relationships. This is not going into this being transactional. This takes time. But by days 23 and 30, you can do a lot of DMs and a lot of outreach, right? To start adding those names to your list and start having good conversations with people, right? So now from here, this is basically a lot of what we've covered, but do you want free live support? Join my Discord community. It's in the description section. You can find that link and chat with us, get support on this process. There are always, free resources that we're uh, sending around and really, really cool stuff. So join the community, join the chat, and really enjoy the community. And then if you really want me to help you implement this system step by step with your own customized plan and you want one-on-one support and you want a community to help sustain you through this process and guide you, and you want guidance through all three steps of that process, then I highly recommend joining my Life Navigator system because this has been my dream for the last 5 years to start this and finally started it and launched it. And it's something that I want to change the world with, or I believe in creating the next generation of leaders. Our world needs leaders and it needs people to step up and do amazing things and build amazing things and contribute in amazing ways. And this is my way of that I feel that I can contribute the best. This is my telos. This is my purpose. So, and you'll get here one-on-one customized support to help you build out your personal development plan and detailed action plan, as well as weekly group coaching calls and personalized tracking and accountability, one-on-one correspondence with me for support and mentorship, an engaged community of like-minded people, full access to the skill mastery system, the skill mastery GPT, and also this that I showed you in the group study, and also direct support in helping connect you with people and resources to execute your plan. And then so much more than that. There are a lot of resources and great stuff. So go to splifestylesolutions.com. That's splifestylesolutions.com right here to register. And I'm looking forward to working together. So I'm glad you were able to join for this course. Definitely check out some of these next videos if you want to keep watching and learning to level up your game and use your critical thinking to improve your life. All right, have a great one.